winning the NBA Finals and the Larry O'Brien Trophy, the end goal for every NBA team in the league. Obviously, some teams are going to be better off at accomplishing that goal than others, but it's okay if your team sucks. A lot of teams suck. With most of the terrible teams in the league, they have a good future to look forward to, whether that be their young developing players or promising draft picks. But every season there are teams that are just good enough to not get good draft picks, but not good enough to make any noise in the playoffs. These teams are in what I and many others call NBA Purgatory. This doesn't mean the team is just mid. It means it's mid and basically has no direction. Like if you look at the Hawks this year, it's one of the most mid teams ever, but the team at least has a direction. Trae Young is young and is still getting better, and AJ Griffin is a promising young piece. The Hawks can and probably will get better, but being in Purgatory means that you're mid now and your future is also mid. I've got 3 teams that I'm going to talk about today, and all of them kind of fall under this category. But before I get into that, I'm going to do a lame YouTuber thing real quick.
Me and my friends are doing a challenge to see if any of us can reach 1,000 subscribers on a new YouTube channel. And I really want to have some bragging rights, so please help me out. So if you'd like to help me accomplish this goal and let me brag on my buddies' faces, please hit that subscribe button, the like button. Thank you.
The first team that I'm going to talk about is the Washington Wizards. The biggest reason I put this team into NBA Purgatory is because it's in just such a weird spot because of Bradley Beal. Don't get me wrong, he's a great player, but for someone who's getting paid the 4th highest contract in the league, you'd at least expect him to be an all-star. Beal's gargantuan contract makes it difficult for the team to do much of anything with their salary cap, which sucks big time for the Wizards considering this huge contract is only going to get bigger for the next couple years. And they can't get rid of it because they gave him a no-trade clause, which sucks even more. Another problem is that when the Wizards traded for Porzingis, it was in an attempt to turn the team into a contender, but instead they're stuck in mediocrity. The worst part is because of the Porzingis trade, for the next 3 years, there's a chance the Knicks will have their first-round picks for all 3 years. They aren't really good enough to contend with Beal and Porzingis, but they also aren't bad enough nor have the picks to get a promising young star. That's pretty terrible. The recent draft pick, Johnny Davis, was supposed to be a saving grace, but he hasn't lived up to expectations. And overall, the team just doesn't have many young players that could develop into something special. Maybe there's a small chance Corey Kispert could be good, but I really doubt that. The Wizards' biggest problem is they just need to decide whether they want to contend or rebuild. And at this point, they should give up on making their mid-3 of Beal, Porzingis, and Kuzma work and just start tanking. The second team is the Chicago Bulls. I really have high hopes for this team and really want them to work, but I just can't see it happening anytime soon. DeRozan is getting older and only has 1 year left on his contract, so it's kind of hard to say if he'll re-sign with the Bulls. And Zach LaVine is playing well and is locked out for the next couple years, but the problem is he's getting paid superstar money without being that superstar that Chicago needs. But in my opinion, the biggest problem with the Bulls right now is Nikola Vucevic. I'm sure any Bulls fan has a lot more to say about Vucevic than I do, but from what I hear, you guys do not like him at all. He's a below average defender and was brought in for good offense, but he's not really making that happen. If he was still all-star Orlando Magic Vucevic, I'm sure the Bulls would be happier, but sadly he's just not. The Bulls are at least better off than the Wizards because the Bulls have a couple of young promising players, whether that's Patrick Williams, Ayo Dosunmu, or Kobe White. They still have players they can rely on going forward. But, you know, for the team I just talked about, the Wizards, they really don't have anyone. But still, I'd put the Bulls in this purgatory category because I don't see a direction with this team. Next up, it's the final team I was going to talk about, the Los Angeles Clippers. They have the talent and ability to be great, but they can just never put it together. Kawhi Leonard and Paul George seem like a great duo when they're both on the floor. When they're both playing, they have a 24-14 record, and that's pretty solid. The issue is they're both just so injury prone. That 24-14 record was accumulated over 4 years. Basically, in 328 games possible, Kawhi and PG-13 have played 38 games together in total. Their picks for the next 3 years are all in control of the Thunder due to the Paul George trade. And the Clippers have one of the oldest teams, with their only young promising player being Bones Highland. It's not really like they can trade Kawhi and PG-13 and get something equal to that in return, because what teams are going to want to take a high-risk aging player that'll probably play a fourth of the season? It's bad when Zubac is your most reliable player. Despite being the most talented roster of the ones mentioned so far, they might be in the worst spot overall. I don't know what they can do. Another team I considered for this was the Toronto Raptors because they don't really have any picks for the next couple years, and their team that would be perfect with a true superstar, and sadly Pascal Siakam can just not fit that role. But the reason I didn't put them on the same tier with the rest of these teams is because there's some incredible upside with Scotty Barnes, and he could definitely do something in the future, and the team is still relatively young. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed me talking shit about 3 beloved basketball organizations, and if you hate me and think I'm stupid, let me know in the comments. If you think otherwise, like and subscribe. And if there's another team that you think is doomed, tell me down below. And finally, thank you for watching.